Hey folks, welcome back. In this video, I just want to run through how to optimize images. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. Dreamweaver has a nice built-in tool. I prefer to use an online optimizer called TinyPNG. So if I were to actually bring up a tab in browser, one of my favorite resources is right here, tinypng.com. It optimizes JPEG and PNG images. Pretty much the most common. Most likely you're not using, or hopefully not using bitmaps, or you may be using GIFs, but you'll have to find a GIF optimizer online. Just do a Google search, GIF optimizer, bitmap optimizer. Anyways, this is just a suggestion. But the cool thing about Insights is if you expand the show how to fix for optimizing your images, it actually tells you which images in your site and where they're located and by how much the file size will be reduced. Overall, it says we can reduce the file size for images by 641 kilobytes, just over half a megabyte, right? And these are the images that can be optimized. And right here we have this one here, the very top of the list, which is probably at the top because it's the most it can be saved. This image can be reduced by 413 kilobytes, so that's a very big reduction. Then we go down the list and we get to 43, 32, and now we're getting into the 10s and 12s, which is really not optimal at all. Right down to you could save 747 bytes. Well, whoopee, that's really not going to do anything for load time because it's still going to be loaded in the same call from the server. But long story short, how do we go about finding these images in our website, and how do we go about getting them optimized? You can go about it a couple different ways. I'll show you what I do, and then of course you can take from that what you want and maybe figure out your own methods. But right here I want to make sure that I have a clue of where the images are located. So the site images folder of my website, it says they're a responsive mockup PNG. Right. So if I go and open up my folder for my website, and I go to my site, my images folder, right, there is a mockup, right? I think if I put this into the view details and go by size, oh, responsive mockup, there it is right there. Okay, and there's all my other images. Now, how I go about optimizing a website is I start in the site folder, okay? Or start here and I go into the site folder and I go to the graphics folder, icons, images. I just look into each of these folders to see if there's any images, right? And if there are, I drag them up to TinyPNG right here. And for example, let's go to the graphics folder. I'll actually just grab everything in the folder like so. It says there's 32 items, so I can only do 20 at a time. That's 26. Right, 23. So let's go with, we'll just start with these 18 here. I just drag these up like so. And you see how quick, boom, 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 it's running through here. Now here's the rule of thumb I go by or use for TinyPNG here. If the image is reduced by 40 to 50%, somewhere around there or more, then it's probably an image that wasn't optimized. If it's like 5 or 10%, then it has been optimized, and TinyPNG is re-optimizing. These are just experiments that I've tried myself. If you have an optimized image and you put it up here and it tries to optimize it even more, you're going to lose a little bit of the quality of that image. It's going to reduce the file size, but probably not by enough to make it worth it, right? When we're talking about, maybe 20 to more percent, then it's probably worth it, right? And what we can do here is you can actually just do a download all, or you can download each individual image, right? If you need everything, you can just download all. It'll create a zip file. You download the zip file, you extract it, and then you can just drag the pictures over. What I'm going to do for this example is just download each of the images that I want, right? And it's probably about optimizing the images in your website, depending on how big your website is. I've spent as little as 3 minutes up to well over an hour optimizing images for different websites based on how many pictures there are and how many folders there are on the site. So once we've downloaded these, I'm going to go back to my desktop where these images will download to. For me, you can, wherever your download folder is, right, go to that, and I'm just going to grab these images and drag and drop them back into my graphics folder and replace the files. Okay, then I'm going to grab the next batch of images like so, and I'm going to upload them to TinyPNG, download them, put them back in. Once I'm done with the graphics folder, I'm going to move down to the icons folder, see if there's any images in here. Nope, there's a bunch right here, so I'm going to go through this folder and do it. And then I'm going to go through my images folder, put these up, and I'm going to repeat the process by going through each of the folders in my website looking for any JPEG or PNG images, right? And nothing there. All right, parallax backgrounds, images. Oh, there's 4 images there. So yeah, it's a bit of a henpecking, but the reason I do it this way instead of using some sort of search, find all JPEG type files or find all pictures is I want to upload the pictures, optimize them, download them, and put them back into the original folder. Okay. You may have your own ways of doing it. Once I'm done with the site folder, I go to the library and the sliders and the components folder. And I go through each of these, starting with, say, the default slider. There's an images folder in here. Right? There's 4 pictures. I'd go up and do that. So that's why it says it could take as little as 3 minutes, depending on how big your website is, up to, for me, depending on a very, very large site, and I'm talking about a site with thousands of images, it could take over an hour. So once you optimize your pictures and put them back up to the server, that's going to save a little bit of that rendering of, or add a little bit to the ranking of your site so you get a better ranking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this entire 3 folders here and all the different subfolders in there. I'm going to optimize the images, put them back up to the server, and then rerun the test. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully it'll take me less than 5 minutes. Okay, so a quick return to our new site, Speed 3. We rerun the test, and we've actually, as you see here from our desktop, we have eliminated the should fix optimizing of images. As a matter of fact, it sort of drops down here into the consider fixing, and I'm going to explain why it shows up here. If I open this up, it now shows a lot fewer images. A lot fewer? That's like a double positive or double negative. My apologies. Anyways, what it shows here are the images and the suggestions. Compressing and resizing this particular image here, 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 and here may save some bytes of data. Okay, compressing and resizing is the key to this particular little bit of information, because the images that it's being referred to are being used in this particular element right here. And as you can see, when we scroll over this particular element, the images resize. So what we're doing here is we are displaying an image, a larger image, and then zooming in on it, so it has an animation effect. Now the image itself, could they be resized? Absolutely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go through, resize those, put them back up to the server. But I wanted you to see that just optimizing the images through TinyPNG, putting them back up to the server, changes our score and also moves the optimizing images from a should fix to a consider fixing position. The other thing I wanted to show you here is these are images that are part of the website. Now if we look down a little bit more, you'll see here that lossily compressing Google's own logo image that is being used in Google Ads and some other things, it actually shows up as an optimized image. This is something that's actually being loaded from Google itself. We have no control over it. So regardless, you won't be able to do anything about that. So when you're checking here to see where these particular images are coming from, see we have our test site address right here. Here's another good example. We have something loaded in from i3D Themes, a phone image and a graphic logo. Well, we have no control over those two things either because they're being loaded in from another site. So in your code, you could try to either load that in directly from your own site, or if you own both sites, maybe go to the other site. In this case, i3D Themes is part of our site, so that's something we could tell the webmaster about and have him optimize it. But if you're loading something in from somebody else's site, you're not going to have any control over that, and it will show up as an opportunity. So now we can get our score up to 54 out of 100 simply by optimizing the images. And if we take a look here, we'll see that the images that are still showing up under a consider fixing list, these are images that are not actually loaded from the test website. They're loaded from i3D Themes or from google.com. So in the real world situation, if I was loading an image in from somebody else's website, I would have no control over that. Therefore, there's nothing you can do at this point. Time to move on to something else. Let's take a look at eliminating the render blocking JavaScript in the next video.